Congrats, you got accepted into a graduate program, but now you don't know how to pick which one is best for you. Well, this video is just for you. Graduate school is completely different than undergrad, and I do have an entire video that discusses in what ways and why, but the big takeaway for this video is that unlike undergrad, when you are choosing your graduate program, you should not be prioritizing the fame or infamy of the university that you are picking. You need to really dive into your particular program, its details, and what it will provide for you. And that's because, again, unlike undergrad, where your education is pretty foundational, it's the general basics that you need to be successful in any given field. In graduate school, at any level of graduate school, you're really diving deeper into the nitty-gritty details or trying to develop a specialty or an expertise that requires a level of dedication to a topic. And so when you are looking at graduate programs, they will differ drastically, not even just program to program, but also even just department to department. And so it's important that you are looking at the finite details of your program to make sure that it is suiting your academic, your professional, and potentially your personal, emotional, financial needs. Which leads me to my first bit of advice, which is make sure you check your fit. If you are a long-time future PhD community member, then you've probably seen this video where I go into depth on how to prioritize your specific goals, your personal needs, and things that will help you develop into who you want to be through your graduate school. Now, if you haven't seen that video, I will link it in the description below, but this video really guides you through a step-by-step process on trying to figure out what is most important for you and what graduate school will fit you and vice versa. Now again, this video will go into how to figure out if you're a fit, but I want to generally focus on some things that you should be considering and looking into a program to make sure that you have the bare basic understanding if this program will be a good fit for you or if you're going to be a good fit for this program. So one of the first things that I think is super important to check to make sure that it's a good fit is the course offerings. Are they offering courses that excite you? Or when you look at what classes you would have to take, do you hate everything? I mean, the truth is when it comes down to it, it'll probably be somewhere in the middle. But looking at what classes you'll have to take is important because your degree requirements, especially if you're going into a PhD program, will take up the bulk of the first few years in your degree program. And so by making sure that the classes that you would have to take are aligned with what you're passionate about, the questions that you're interested in answering, and developing the skill sets that will make you successful is super important to see. Is this program going to help you get to where you want to go or do the research that you want to do? Another super important thing is looking at what resources they have on campuses. And these resources can be a variety of different things, like faculty. Are there a lot of faculty that could potentially be a mentor for you? And as somebody who has just finished her PhD, I can say you're going to need more than one mentor. So having more options of faculty is invaluable. But these resources could also be special initiatives. Do they have research centers, programs? Are there student groups, working groups, or a community of people that are also interested in your research questions, methodologies, or your professional development focus? These types of resources become so important post-grad. They oftentimes can make or break your success in getting a job. So making sure that you are attending a university or a program that is prioritizing your development, be it research development, professional development, is so invaluable because it can guide you to the networks, the mentorships, and the resources to get you to your end goal. Now, I do want to reiterate, there are a lot more things that go into if you fit into a graduate school or not. And so I highly recommend you go watch this video and go through the process of making sure that all of your important priorities are accounted for in your graduate program. And I'll go ahead and put this video at the end screen so you can watch it directly after this video. The next piece of advice is to make sure that you are checking the vibes. Now, I understand that this bit of advice might feel a little vague or kind of intangible, but it comes down to it, it is actually really important and kind of tangentially related to fit. And that's because on paper, on their website, a program can look perfect. And then when you finally get into campus, when you finally sit down in a classroom, or when you get around other students, you realize that the vibes are all off, that you do not feel comfortable with maybe the history of the department, the ways in which they teach, or the kind of culture of everything that's going on. And so it could be very hard to figure out if the vibes are right before you get there, but there are a couple of things that you can do, and that's what we're going to talk about now. The first thing that you can do to check if the vibes are right is reach out to current or former graduate students. Now, I'd probably reach out maybe between 1 to 3. I wouldn't email everybody in the program because you don't want to be a nuisance either. But by reaching out between 1 to 3 people, you may have an opportunity to, get on Zoom, chat, maybe get a coffee if they're nearby, to talk about the program, the department culture, and maybe even if they're unable to meet, answer a few questions via email so you can get a better understanding of what you're entering into. And if you get a ton of people that are willing to reach out, respond, and chat with you, that's a great sign that at least people in the program are friendly or open or willing to talk about their experiences. Now, this doesn't mean that if nobody responds, you're doomed. Sometimes people just get really busy. But there are ways that you can get information by reaching out to people so you can gather an idea of what's going on or what it's like to be in that department before you commit to going to that actual institution. You could also possibly reach out to 1 or 2 faculty members or maybe the chair of the department to get an opportunity to sit down with them and ask them questions about the department, the program, expectations, and things to that nature. Now, I do have a video about who the chair is and why they're important and what responsibilities they have. So maybe before you reach out and meet with the chair, you should watch that video first. It'll be in the description below, just to make sure you know what are appropriate questions to ask for them so you can get the most out of that meeting. But no matter who you decide to talk to or who you get to speak with, I do think it's important to ask some very consistent questions, and one of them being about work-life balance. Do students usually have time? Are they tired? Are they exhausted? Are there resources on campus to help with mental health, physical ailments, and things of that nature? Is the department invested in or commonly working with collaborations? Are they generally friendly? Or do people just kind of stay siloed to themselves and kind of keep their head down and go forward? None of these things are innately good or bad, but rather would be helpful to know based off of your opinion or your experiences and personality to help you know, is this a place where you would feel comfortable? I would also ask questions that really interrogate, what do students do after they graduate? Do most of them go into industry? Do they get academic jobs? Do they struggle? Is it that you don't really keep up with your students in the department and so you don't really know? These things can be red flags or green flags that really help you understand how dedicated the department is in your success or how actively involved they are in helping you reach your goal once you graduate. Also, once you get an acceptance letter, many programs or institutions will host an on-campus visit. So if you have the capacity to go to this on-campus visit and really experience the department in person, I highly suggest that you go. These are great opportunities to meet a lot of people in the department, talk to the faculty, see what the building looks like, and genuinely check if the vibes are good for you. And this third thing that you should consider before picking a graduate program is making sure that you understand the details of their funding. Now, this is a hard topic to talk about, and I do bring it up a lot on my channel because funding was just a major obstacle for me in my graduate experience. And so I do have an entire playlist that you can watch. It's in the description box below that will help you understand all the nuances, major questions that you would have in relation to funding. But I do think before you decide or pick on a program, depending on your circumstances, funding might be a really important thing to make sure you are looking at. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't go to a school that doesn't have funding or may need a little financial magic to make it financially viable for you. There are a million ways to fund your graduate school. And again, I do have that playlist that talks about different ways to fund graduate school, how I did it, and how other people do it. So you don't have to feel alone. Just make sure that you are actively asking about funding packages. How do their graduate students fund themselves? Do most of their graduate students live on campus, off campus? How do they cover their basic needs? These types of questions, again, can help you make the most informed decision that is best for you, your family, or your circumstances in particular. Your decision on what graduate school you attend could make or break you. And these 3 things are the bare basics, most important things to consider when trying to figure out which graduate program you should go to next. But to really assure that you are crossing your T's and dotting your I's and picking the program that is best for you in as many ways possible, you should watch this video next. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next week.